Good evening, everybody. Apologize for us being a little bit late to the dance tonight. But welcome to this regular meeting of the Temple City Council for Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Please rise as Pastor Ryan Wood with Christian Life Church leads us in the invocation this evening, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Evie and Eliana Landeros with the help of their mom.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the great city of Temple, God. We thank you for allowing us to have influence here in this world. Father, we thank you that this is a city that recognizes differences and finds unity in them. God, I ask right now that you would protect this great city and the men and women that lead it. God, I thank you for the sacrifice that they've made and the decisions that they make that honor you. God, above all things, we recognize and we honor your name in the name of your Son, Jesus. And it's in his name that we pray. Amen. Amen.
It stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So good.
Yeah, thank y'all both very much. Now we've reached the time in this meeting for public comments. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter may sign up prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. No discussion or final action will be taken by the City Council. We have one person that signed up, and that's Jeffrey Ware. Yes, sir, please.
My name is Jeffrey Ware, 2600 Moores Mill, Temple, Texas, 76504. I request the City Council to provide me closure and execute the eminent domain of my property. Tonight, the City Council will discuss the need to raise taxes for unfunded projects and to provide tax abatement to industry within the Temple Industrial Development. In the meantime, I and my neighbors are paying property and consumption taxes to fund our very own removal from our homes. And to add insult to injury, the same land will be tax abated for the industry and commercial endeavors of the new owners. I'm an Eagle Scout and have served over 20 years in the United States Army defending this country and protecting others. I know that what democracy and representative government can do to protect and serve its constituents. It hurts me more than any of you can understand to have to go through this. My current situation is worse than the struggles I experienced in conflicts and combat against communism, dictatorship, and Islamic terrorism. I have been more than patient for a number of years. I researched the impact of the eminent domain process. I maintained awareness of ongoing development changes, worked with city planners, and attended appropriate city meetings. State laws says I cannot be compensated for mental anguish, loss of sleep, and frustration. But I'm here to tell you, how can it not be when my family, home life, and business has been placed in limbo because of inaction? I later found the city had already decided in 2008 to develop this land as commercial and to remove all current landowners as established in the 2008 Temple Industrial Development Plan. My name is Jeffrey Ware. I'm a resident on Moores Mill Road. I bought my property in 2014. I am active in the community and very much integrated into my neighborhood. I am honored to stand before you to state that my neighbors and I work together and support each other as an agricultural and small business neighborhood of well over 500 acres. I was notified in 2015 that Moores Mill Road in front of me was to be turned into Research Boulevard or an outer bypass. The City Council should have made every effort to disclose that land I bought to farm, ranch, develop, and bequeath to my daughters was actually not mine. It is a shame to have to express the anger about the actions and comments the city has made in reference to the ordinance for 2018-4943 and 2018-4944. All I ask is to keep us, the landowners, informed. It is extremely important to understand the consequences of city planning upon present landowners. I have not invested in further upgrades to my home identified for improvement when I bought my house due to the impending eminent domain. This creates a less than ideal family situation. I and my neighbors keep the repairs and upkeep of our barns, fencing, and other improvements to the minimum due to the unknown compensation. I have to plan for realistic cost of having to start over with the same starting capital, but 4 years later at a 300% plus buy-in cost. This negatively impacts our neighborhood, agricultural opportunities, creates losses in potential farm and cattle economic returns, and destroys our farming endeavors. My neighbors have sweat and bled on Bell County land far longer than I have for farming and ranching. They too are dealing with the inevitable. We're only delaying the disruption to my family, my children, farming ties with my neighbors, and the final sacrifice of leaving our community. It is time to allow my family to move on and be a part of and actively live the Texas dream. I am disheartened to be here with a request to the City Council to move forward with executing the eminent domain of my property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Item 3 is the recognition of corporate challenge winners. Mr. Ram?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The Corporate Challenge, if you do not know, is a series of competitive events open to companies, businesses, and organizations of all sizes. The 2018 Corporate Challenge was held September 8th all the way through November 11th on weekends, weeknights. So a lot of work and a lot of effort was put into this, both by our staff and by the companies that were involved in the events. It encourages camaraderie, it builds morale, and it's part of several of these businesses' wellness program, or it is their wellness program. So we're happy to be able to say we're able to support wellness within our community. We had 13 competitions, including golf, sporting clays, bowling, co-ed kickball, disc golf, and we ended up with a 5K. We had to cancel softball, one of our softball events, because of the rain. As we all know, we had a lot of rain here recently. But tonight we're here to award the companies that were in first place within their division. We have 3 different divisions, companies, and businesses of different sizes. Division 1, which is our smallest division. In third place, we had Texel Credit Union. MTC was second place. And tonight, representing Stratasys Direct Manufacturing is Randy Malone. Congratulations, Randy, for being back-to-back champions in Division 1. Mayor, would you please help us in presenting these trophies to these businesses? Sorry about that late notice there. In Division 2, we had Acer was in third place. We had PSI in second place. And before I go to our winner, this is the most highly competitive group. And historically, there are people that are pretty much out for blood in this in this group here. Acer and PSI, and along with PDI, who was our champion, they really want to win. They're very competitive. They do a great job within their company of encouraging their employees to participate. To show you how close it was, Acer had 813 points, PSI had 886, and PDI won with 906. And Daniel Maddox, their company captain, is here to accept this award. Congratulations. Division 3, the largest group. In third place was McLean Company. In second place was Baylor Scott and White. And in third place for the 6th consecutive year, the City of Temple. And I would, if there was any city employees that participated this year, if you would please come up and be part of the photo opportunity with the mayor, please. I know you're out there. I see you. Don't make me call your name out. Tracy gave me a list. I will call it out. And finally, I want to, if I didn't mention Tracy and her staff and Richard Fibbis, our recreation superintendent, they were the co-chairs of this year's event, and all 2,300 of those registered participants came through her office, and a lot of work, over 2 months of work put into this every year. And to show that we've getting increased participation every year is just a testament to her hard work, and thank you, Tracy, very much.
Very good. Thank you, Chuck. That's fun. Next item is the consent agenda. All items listed under this section, the consent agenda, are considered to be routine by the City Council and may be enacted by one motion. If discussion is desired by the council, any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request from any council member and will be considered separately. Council, are there any items that need to be removed? Okay. If not, we will, I'll seek a motion for items 4A through 4U. We have a motion and a second on items 4A through 4U. Madam Secretary?
Member Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington? Mayor Pro Tem Morales? Mayor Davis?
Aye. Item 5 on the agenda is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing a 10-year franchise with Heart of Texas Cooperative, Inc. to construct, maintain, and operate and use an electric transmission and distribution system within the city of Temple. Ms. Landeros?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as we talked about in workshop, a little bit different item tonight, franchise with Heart of Texas Electric Cooperative to provide electrical services within the city of Temple. This is the site that I referenced earlier. It's about 31 acres off of State Highway 317 and Cedar Creek Road. The property was actually rezoned and platted, I believe, last year in 2017. And so the property owner has requested service from Heart of Texas Electric Cooperative for this subdivision. The city currently only has one franchise electrical provider, and that is Oncor. As we talked about earlier in the letter you received, Heart of Texas is a member-owned nonprofit corporation, which currently it does operate in Bell County and some surrounding counties. So the proposed franchise agreement has an initial term of 10 years. It does allow for additional renewal periods up to 5 years because city charter allows the maximum length of franchise agreements to be 15 years. So after 15 years, they would have to come back to City Council for renewal. The franchise is a non-exclusive agreement. It allows Heart of Texas to construct, maintain, and operate in our public right-of-way their electric lines, data lines, power lines for the purpose of supplying electricity. And they would, even though they are focused on this particular subdivision at the moment, the franchise agreement would allow them to provide electricity throughout the city. So the city, as is true with our franchise agreement with Oncor, if we request relocation of their lines, of Heart of Texas's lines that are located in our right-of-way, they are obligated to relocate, and it is at their expense. So if we have a road project or something where we need them to move, then those relocations would be at their expense. The franchise fee is kind of the one question that we do have on the agreement. The way that the agreement is currently drafted is that the city, Heart of Texas would pay to the city an annual franchise fee based on the percentage of gross receipts from the sale of electricity within Temple. Standard fees, as we talked about, range from 2 to 4%. We had proposed 4%. Heart of Texas has requested 3%. And as we did talk about earlier as well, Oncor pays a rate per kilowatt hour. They've been providing electricity in the city for decades. After some changes in state law in the late 90s, they switched from paying 4% of gross receipts to paying per kilowatt hour based on a formula. And it is the number of kilowatt hours that they were providing within the city in 1998. And so divided by, I believe the number of customers at that time. So it's a formula that's set for Oncor. So they currently pay a different rate. So as we talked about, staff has proposed 4% because that was kind of the only baseline that we've had, is what Encore was previously paying. But Heart of Texas, in the letter you have a copy of, they have requested your consideration of a 3% fee. So we do recommend approval of the franchise agreement with either fee that you decide is appropriate. In the motion, you will have to state whether you are approving the 4% fee or the 3% fee. And that's all I have.
Council, any questions? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on item 5.
I'll make a
Mayor.
motion to,
This requires a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Sorry about that. Okay, there being none, I will now entertain a motion on item number 5.
okay, well, I'll go now. So I make a motion to approve adopting an ordinance for a 10-year franchise with a 4%
Franchise fee.
franchise fee.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Mayor Davis.
Aye. Item 6 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider an ordinance adopting rezoning of general retail zoning district to single-family 3 zoning district on 2.257 plus or minus acres situated in the Baldwin-Robertson League Survey, abstract number 17, Bell County, Texas, addressed as 651 North Pea Ridge Road. Ms. Lyerly.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. And I have on the, thank you, so you can hear me better. So on the screen, I have an aerial showing where the property is located. As you can see, is at the southeast corner of Stone Hollow Drive and North Pea Ridge Road. And as you mentioned, this rezoning is from general retail to single-family 3, and that is to allow for single-family residential development, and which is on 23.9 acres. And the property is also currently going through the platting process. And just give you a little background, single-family 3 district allows single-family residential homes and not manufactured homes. And this request actually is an extension of the single-family 3 zoning districts to the north and also to the south. The future land use map, you'll see that the property is in the pink area. So currently, with the general retail district, the property is in compliance with the future land use plan. But the single-family district does not comply with this suburban commercial classification. But since the surrounding areas are already residential, it does comply with the surrounding zoning districts and uses. Thoroughfare plan, North Pea Ridge Road is a collector, but currently it is not built out as a collector, but it is part of the TCIP project with the estimated completion of summer 2021 to upgrade that to collector status. And Stone Hollow Drive is a collector. As you can see on the thoroughfare plan, we have guidelines that show us where we have to put in arterials or collectors. And so Stone Hollow Drive, although the aerial shows it as a wide area, which signifies a local street, the thoroughfare plan actually has it as a collector, and so it was built as a collector. And as far as existing water and sewer, this proposed property, or this existing property, does have access to water and to sewer services. And so I have some on-site pictures, and so this is a corner lot, so I have 2 pictures. The top picture is taken from North Pea Ridge Road, and you can see the residential homes in the rear of the lot. These are to the east of the property. And the bottom picture is actually taken from Stone Hollow Drive, and you can see that presently it's just a vacant lot, which was proposed initially for general retail development. And to the north is Stone Hollow Drive. And then to the east is the residential area, and then east of that is a school. And then North Pea Ridge Road is currently undeveloped residential property. Go south, you have another look at the residential homes that are just south of this property. And as far as the land uses that are allowed on the property, as you can see, the single-family 3 in comparison with general retail, single-family 3 only allows residential uses, and you can see all the different uses listed for general retail district. And so as far as the development standards, it's kind of odd. This is an interesting situation because both of the zoning districts have similar setbacks as far as lot depth and lot widths. And the platting, as I mentioned, they also have a plat going through the process. The plat is actually in compliance with both zoning districts. And so as far as compliance, since I mentioned the future land use plan was in the pink area, I have that it is not compliant with the future land use plan, but I explained that it is compatible with surrounding uses and zoning, and it does have public facilities available, and it is in compliance with the thoroughfare plan. We mailed out 21 notices within 200 feet of the proposed rezoning site. We received 2 in agreement with, you'll see noted with the green A's on the screen, and then we had 1 in disagreement with the proposed rezoning. And so if you, staff is recommending approval of the request of the rezoning district from general retail to single-family 3. And at its November 5th, 2018 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended 7-0 for approval of this request per staff recommendation. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Lyerly.
Welcome.
Council, any questions on item 6? Nothing? Okay, this item also is subject to a public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment on this item may do so. If you'll step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. There being none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item 6.
I move to approve item 6 as presented.
You have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Mayor Davis.
Aye. Item 7 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance authorizing an amendment of ordinance number 2018-4934 to add a single site plan for a proposed 16.461 plus or minus acre, 59 lot, 2 block residential subdivision situated in the Redding Roberts Survey, abstract number 692, Bell County, Texas. Address is 5120 South 31st Street in Temple. Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Again, this request is an amendment of the current ordinance, which, as you may remember, added approximately half an acre to an existing planned development, and that was adopted back in October. The current request will amend that ordinance and attach a 16-acre development site plan, broken up approximately of about 11.5 acres of planned development with the general retail base, and about 4.42 acres that is zoned multifamily. This development site plan would provide for a 59-lot single-family residential subdivision. That subdivision plat would be forthcoming for final approval and authority. Staff anticipates by the Planning and Zoning Commission in January of 2019, but would come after the development plan review by City Council. The subdivision plat would not be, again, going before City Council. Tonight's discussion would be for the required public review of the site development plan only and does not include review of the plat. And again, this property, just real briefly, is along the bend of South 31st Street and is indicated by the golden color. So just real briefly, just to go over some bullet statements on the subdivision plat, The primary access to the property would be along a proposed street called Bend Drive, and that would be from South 31st Street, and again, would be the primary access. One of the things, just to bring staff, City Council up to knowledge on some of the just ongoing discussions that staff is working with the developer before the plat goes forward, would be direct trail connectivity from the subdivision to the adjacent Waterford Park. Again, there's a number of departments that are involved in that discussion, and that is ongoing. The major obstacle is, for lack of a better word, bridging a gap, crossing a concrete drainage channel spanning approximately 40 to 50 feet to bring that connection. So with the development site plan as well as the plat, existing water and sewer are available to the subdivision. And just a photograph showing the subject property. This is seen from South 31st Street. And so as part of the development site plan review, public notification was required. Property owners within 200 feet were noticed. 19 notices were sent out. 3 notices were returned, 2 of which were from the applicant. And staff did not receive any notices in disagreement. So in terms of the compliance that staff reviews for the overall review of the development site plan, the future land use plan, compatibility with surrounding uses and zoning, public facility availability, and the thoroughfare plan, the request is compliant with all 4 of those. So staff is recommending approval of the request to amend the ordinance and attach the site plan, subject to the conditions that are required by the existing or current ordinance. Basically, those 4 conditions are to conform to the requirements of the general retail district, a detailed site plan review by Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, the subdivision plat requirement prior to development of the property, and that the Director of Planning would be authorized to approve minor changes to the development plan. And so at their November 5th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend unanimously to approve per staff's recommendation. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available should you have any questions, and the applicant is also available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Council? This item is subject to a public hearing. At this time, I'll open that public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on the matter may do so. Please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record. There being no comments, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 7.
Make a motion for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Member Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales? Mayor Davis?
Aye. Item 8 is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting the following ordinances. Item A, Ordinance 2018-4948, FY-19-1-AB states authorizing abandonment and conveyance of all or portions of service alleys adjacent to Extraco Bank, originally dedicated within the original town of Temple. And item B is 2018-4949, FY-19-2-AB, authorizing abandonment and conveyance of all or portions of service alleys behind 110 and 112 South First Street, originally dedicated within the original town of Temple. Mr. Deckman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. As you stated, this is an abandonment of an alley in downtown Temple. Short-Term Lending Group is the applicant. So I'll provide some background to the case. It's an abandonment and a conveyance of the alley behind South First Street as originally dedicated within the original Town of Temple subdivision. The abandonment consists of 2 parts. The first is .013 acres located adjacent to Extraco Bank for the drive-through lane. The other portion is .028 acres located behind 110 and 112 South First Street for construction of an outside dining area. Facilities present in the alley include overhead electric power, cable, phone lines, and buried sewer, water, and gas lines. The abandonment was circulated to outside utility providers and City of Temple Public Works. A public utility easement will be reserved in that area to provide access to those facilities. So let me orient you to my map. Avenue A is to the north, South First Street to the east, Avenue B to the south, and 3rd Street, where the overpass begins, is to the west. So you see the smaller .13 acre piece is here, overlapping with the bank drive-through lane. The larger piece of the alley directly behind 110 and 112 South First Street. So these are the surveys as submitted with the application. So further background is Extraco Banks operates the drive-through bank at the corner of Avenue A and South First Street to include drive-up automatic teller machines. That property was previously purchased and improved, and this abandonment just provides clear title to that property. The second half, short-term lending group, was awarded 2 strategic investment grants for a proposed coffee shop at 110 and a proposed restaurant at 112 South First Street. The alley that's being abandoned will be used for an outside dining area that will serve both establishments. So we're talking about a patio. As far as abandoning and conveying this property, Texas Local Government Code Section 253.013 authorizes the city to donate surplus property that is of negligible or negative value if the government body finds the following facts to be true. First, the property is not improved, including by having structure on it or by being paved. Ownership of the property does not provide any identifiable positive benefit to the city in relation to the city's current needs. Ownership of the property is not likely to provide any identifiable positive benefit to the city in relation to the city's future needs, and the cost of maintaining the property is a substantial burden to the city. So the wrinkle here is the alleyways at issue are paved. However, the alleyway adjacent to Extraco was paved by Extraco. The pavement behind 110 and 112 South First Street is in a deteriorating condition. All other requirements listed in Section 253.013 are true. So on to what the future holds. This is an elevation view from South First Street looking at the proposed restaurant and the coffee shop. And here's a conceptual drawing of what the patio might look like with seating area, lighting, landscaping, and amenities to enhance your dining experience. Here's what the alley looks like at the moment. You see the drive-through area to the left, and the patio is going to be behind these 2 buildings. As you can see, there are a number of overhead wires over that alley, necessitating the public utility easement. Staff recommends approval of the abandonment and conveyance of the portion of the alley located behind 110 and 112 South First Street. I stand by for your questions. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Counselor, any questions, comments on this? Okay, if not, then at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. There being none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 8 as read, both A and B.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Next item is the first reading and a public hearing to consider adopting an ordinance adopting the Temple Youth Program Standard of Care. Mr. Ram.
Mayor. As you're aware, the City of Temple Park and Recreation Department operates multiple summer camp and after-school programs. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services regulates child care and child care placement activities in the state of Texas. Regulations do not apply to government agencies who adopt their own standards of care. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services requires governing bodies to adopt annual standards of care by ordinance after a public hearing. Key items in our standards of care include minimum staff ratios, staff qualifications, health and safety standards, minimum age requirements, which are 5 to 13, so we can only have kids in our programs between the ages of 5 to 13. It also requires mechanisms and timelines for monitoring and enforcing the adopted local standards. It has standards in regards to staff when we hire them, that we must require background checks, have them trained to include CPR and first aid. And also, parents must be made aware that we are not a licensed daycare facility, that we're not licensed by the state. They must be aware of the standards and provided access to those standards, whether in their hand or online. Parents must also complete all the required registration paperwork, and each child must be deemed eligible for the program. Again, we operate 10 after-school programs, 4 in TSD, 4 in BSD. We also operate in St. Mary's Catholic School, and this past October we added Temple Charter Academy as one of our sites. We also operate multiple holiday and summer camps. This is a list of daily average attendance at each of our after-school programs, both compared last year to this year. As you can see, by minimal numbers, we do fluctuate or go up and down each year for different reasons and different factors. And then in our camps, these would be our holiday camps, like coming up, Camp Holidays would be our Christmas camp. And then our larger camp, as you can see, Camp Heat Wave, our largest one, is our large summer camp. We had 21 participants receive scholarship assistance in 2018. And staff is recommending approval of the 2018 child care standards, and we do not recommend any changes for 2019. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ram. Council, any questions? This item is subject to a public hearing. At this time, I'll open that public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this matter may do so. Please step to the podium. State your name and address for the record. There being none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on item number 9.
Make a motion for approval?
Second.
We have motion and second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. Item 10 on the agenda is to consider adopting the following resolutions. Resolution number 2018-9463-R, authorizing a tax abatement agreement with Turner Real Estate LLC, which will cover increases in the taxable value of real property on an approximately .376 acre tract of land designated as Tax Abatement Reinvestment Zone Number 37. And item B reads 2018-9464-R, authorizing an economic development agreement with Turner Real Estate LLC for the redevelopment of the Han Hotel and Arcadia Theater properties. Ms. Myers?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very excited to present this item to you tonight. So tonight we have before you a resolution with 2 parts, recommending an agreement with a company to redevelop the Han, Arcadia, and Sears buildings. So next slide, please. So just a little bit of background about the proposal tonight. Last year, in the fall of last year, we released a request for proposals for the redevelopment of the Han Hotel and the Arcadia Theater. The proposal, the RFP invited interested developers to propose improvements to both buildings. We were very open-ended with our RFP. We really wanted to hear from developers what they thought would work best in the buildings and what they felt like was needed to make the project successful. So we were very open-ended in the proposals. We received the proposals in November, and we received a proposal from Turner Real Estate, which is based in Waco. I do want to make a quick note that the RFP was submitted under the name of Turner Real Estate. However, the proposed agreements will be with a related company, should you favorably consider these items, and that's the Turner Behringer Development Company. So the same partners are involved in this as Turner Real Estate, but a different name. So a little bit about Turner Behringer. Cody and Shane Turner and Todd Behringer are the owners of Turner Behringer. That's a little bit harder to say than just Turner Real Estate, so please forgive me. The company is very well known in the Waco area for its successful renovation of several downtown Waco buildings. One of the most iconic is the Waco Hippodrome, although that was not their first project, nor even their largest project, but it is one that they are well known for because really not unlike the Arcadia Theater in Temple, the Hippodrome, of course, is a landmark building in downtown Waco and was very important to that community and the downtown in that area. So they have been able to successfully renovate the Hippodrome as well as continue to own and operate it. Another project is Franklin Square, which is a mixed-use development. It has retail spaces on the ground floor, and also has lofts, residential lofts in the building that they lease. Another example of a successful project is the Altura Lofts. This project includes 24 high-end lofts and penthouse suites. And these are just highlighting just a few of the many projects that the company has done in downtown Waco. They are currently underway with several other projects. One of them is a food court type establishment. It's I kind of think of it as an incubator for restaurants, so it's the step in between a food truck and a permanent brick and mortar place for a restaurant. So they lease out stalls to restaurateurs to serve food and have dining space there. So that's a neat project that they have underway in Waco right now, as well as additional office, retail, and residential space. So they have invested significantly in downtown Waco, and we are very excited for their interest in downtown Temple. They are proposing for Temple a mixed-use development, and it would include residential, retail, and the buildings that are proposed for consideration are the Han Hotel and the Arcadia Theater, but also the Sears building. So when I mentioned that we were very open-ended with our proposal, while the proposal language covered the Han Hotel and Arcadia Theater as buildings we definitely want included, TB brought back a proposal that also had interest in the Sears building. And the Sears building, as council will recall, has just been vacated by the workforce as they've moved into their new facility in the Santa Fe Plaza. So we were excited about their interest in that building as well. The proposal is for the Han to be renovated into 4 lease apartments, and those apartments would be managed by the company. The lower floors would also be renovated into retail or commercial space. In the Arcadia, next slide please, the Arcadia would be an event space that would accommodate anything from live music to lunch meetings. Last week, I was in Waco visiting with the Turners, and we met at the Hippodrome, and at that time they were having a lunch meeting in the theater, and they have a flexible space there where it can be set up for movies or other kind of traditional theater seating, but you can also remove the seats there and set up table style, and they were having, I believe, a Chamber of Commerce luncheon there, so they envision a similar concept for the Arcadia, I believe. The Sears building is in the second phase of the proposed project. The proposal for the Sears building is that it would be renovated into retail and office space. They're also considering additional residential lofts in the Sears building as well. The Turner Behringer has been performing due diligence over the past several months. They have done an incredible amount of market research. They feel confident in their proposal will be successful here in Temple. The city staff has done quite a bit of research and due diligence as well, which is why we've taken a few months to get to this point. So we both feel very confident in this proposal. And I, at this point, would like to turn the presentation over to Kayla, who has been very instrumental in this, and she is going to cover the details of the proposed agreements.
So first, the economic development agreement, just going through each party's obligations under that draft agreement. The city's obligations would be to convey the Han Hotel and the Sears building to Turner Behringer. The city is also agreeing to provide reimbursement to the company for asbestos and lead remediation that's needed in the Han Hotel, the Arcadia Theater, and the Sears building. Several years ago, the city did a significant amount of asbestos remediation in the Han Hotel, but there's still some work that needs to be done. Also, the city would be providing strategic investment zone funding for facade improvements, signage, demolition, and design work on the buildings in a not-to-exceed amount of $250,000, and that includes also the waiver of building fees. The city would also be leasing to the company the parking lot that's located at the corner of 4th and Central Avenue. That lease would be a long-term lease of 50 years, $1 per year that they will pay upfront. And the city and the company will continue to discuss the feasibility of jointly constructing a parking garage at that location in the future. One other item on here that is not on the list is there is a small parking lot to the north of the Han and Arcadia buildings that city-owned. That is also part of the agreement and would be conveyed to the company. So, and that's an actual conveyance, not just a lease. Continuing with the city's obligations, the city will ensure that adequate wastewater service is available to support the project, and those improvements have actually already been designed a couple of years ago, and so we're ready to proceed with construction of those improvements. And then the city is also agreeing to design and construct intersection enhancements, landscaping, signage, monuments, or dry utility relocations, public improvements essentially in the area as set forth in the city's downtown city center concept design plan. And as Brent talked about earlier, that concept design plan is being funded by the reinvestment zone. It's underway. So the public improvements that will come out of that plan will be a part of these improvements that the city will work with Turner Behringer on deciding exactly what those will be. But the city's cost in those improvements will not exceed $1.6 million, and that part of the agreement is being funded by the reinvestment zone.
That $1.6 million is already included in the financing plan that you have adopted.
Arcadia, as you all know, the Arcadia building is actually owned by the Historic Temple Arcadia Theater, Inc., which is a nonprofit organization. Their obligations is just to convey the theater to the company. And Brent and I actually attended a meeting of their board of directors on November 19th, and they have already approved the economic development agreement. So the company's obligations are to obviously accept the properties. They are estimating a capital investment of $6 million over the 3 properties, as Brent stated, for retail, residential, and entertainment spaces. As far as timelines go, they are required to obtain a building permit for the reconstruction of the properties no later than 18 months from the date that they are conveyed, and then complete the improvements to the Han and Arcadia no later than 3 years from that date of conveyance, and for the Sears building, it's no later than 4 years. So the Sears building is in a later phase of their project. So that's the basic overview of the economic development agreement. For the tax abatement agreement, on the consent agenda, you did approve on second reading the ordinance that creates tax abatement reinvestment zone number 37. That is that zone only covers the Han and the Arcadia. And so I do want to note that it doesn't cover the Sears building. We did that because under state law, the life of a tax abatement reinvestment zone is limited to 5 years. Since the Sears building is a little bit later in their timeline, it would probably still fit within that 5-year window, but we didn't want to get too close. So we'll come back and ask you all to consider the tax abatement reinvestment zone and another agreement covering the Sears building. So for this agreement, it's just the Han and the Arcadia, and they are estimating a capital investment of, out of that $6 million, $3.9 million for those 2 buildings. And that is a 10-year tax abatement on real property improvements only. It's a declining abatement rate. Years 1 through 5 would be 100%, and declining 10% each year until year 10 would just be 50%. The tax abatement agreement is estimated to have a potential of abating approximately $219,000 in property taxes over the life of the agreement using the city's current tax rate. And as I stated, we will come back to you all to consider a separate zone and agreement for the Sears building. So far, our timeline, at the November 15th meeting, you all heard on first reading the ordinance that designated that reinvestment zone. Yesterday, at the reinvestment zone board meeting, the board did approve the tax abatement agreement, and they recommended your approval of the economic development agreement. And then we're here today. And so you've approved on second reading that abatement reinvestment zone, and this is the item considering the 2 agreements. And we'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to add my appreciation. I already stated that Kayla was instrumental in getting us to this point. She did a lot of work, and her staff did a lot of work to get us to this point. Additionally, Tracy and her staff have been incredibly helpful to get us here. A special note of Belinda Matke, who is the purchasing director and works for Tracy. She was instrumental in getting the RFP completed and helping us do several steps of the due diligence relating to the asbestos abatement and other items along the way. And then Brian Chandler has also been incredibly helpful in this process in helping us navigate the historic tax credit process and recommending and shepherding through with some consultants' work to make sure we were set up well for that. On the Turner Behringer team, they have been exceptional to work for. They have a consultant who works on their side. Her name is Sarah Roberts. She's with a company called KSR Consulting. She's been fabulous, so I wanted to mention to you that she is, yes. So from all around, our hearts are in this project from their team, and of course here on our side, we're excited to recommend this project to you. And this has been a year of due diligence to get us to a project that I think is going to be incredibly successful and really the next step in furthering our amazing redevelopment of downtown. And so I appreciate your time, and we recommend your favorable consideration of these agreements.
Thank you both. Council, anybody have any comments?
Except that we're excited. I think it's going to really make a big difference and a big boost in downtown Temple and impact our whole city. We appreciate it.
I agree with that. That's exciting.
Okay, there being no further comments, I'll entertain a motion on items 10A and 10B. Council, please note that you do have special language that's been provided to you.
So I'll make a motion to approve A tax abatement agreement with Turner Behringer Development Company, which will cover the increases in the taxable value of real property on an approximate .376 acre tract of land designated as tax abatement reinvestment zone number 37. And B, an economic development agreement with Turner Behringer Development Company for the redevelopment of the Han Hotel and Arcadia Theater properties.
I'll second that motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker?
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye. And I also want to read, as you can see, we have an empty seat up here. Councilmember Long is out recovering from a surgical procedure, but she wanted me to be sure and read this. I'm sorry to be unable to attend today's City Council meeting due to immobility because of a recent surgery. I would, however, like to register my total support for the economic agreement proposed with Shane and Cody Turner of Turner Real Estate, now renamed Turner Behringer. The designated buildings are of historic importance to the history of Temple and to the future of our downtown core. The Turner involvement should prove to be an enormous asset to our revitalization desires. And it's signed Susan Long, District 3 City Council. I also am excited about this. This is Han Redevelopment 2.0 for me since I've been on the council. And 2014, with the previous 15 maybe, the previous developer invited me to come walk through it, and I went and walked through the Han, all 8 or 9 floors, and you can just feel the history in that building. So that's neat. Just to be around a building that was built, so long ago. So not only do you feel the history, but you can also see the future in it. It's going to be grand. It's going to be another anchor point in downtown Temple, and I'm excited about it. Some people say, some folks that may not be for tax abatements, et cetera, might have an issue with this project. The fact of the matter is, from this presentation, there will be about $220,000 worth of potential property tax that the city will not receive. due to, over a 5 or 6 year period due to this project. But right now, the city is receiving 100% of $0. The city owns that property now, and any city-owned property is not taxed. We don't tax ourselves, right? So, so just the fact that, I heard one person say one time that we're not tax abating property, we are phasing in taxes over 4 or 5 years. So, this is an appropriate project for downtown. We're teaming up with a good reputable group that's done this, and they're not coming out of L.A. or New York or somebody like that. They're right down the road from us. So they know Temple, they know Central Texas. So this is a great opportunity, again, to drive one more nail, into the ground, showing that we are Temple, and we are excited about where we're going. So thank you, Turners. Thank you, staff and council. Thank you, citizens. This is going to be a great project for us. So thank you all very much. This is a historic moment for us. As you can tell, we're all a little excited up here. Very good. Item number 11 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing a tax abatement agreement with East Penn Manufacturing Company, which will cover increases in the taxable value of real and personal property on an approximately 36.9 acre tract of land designated as tax abatement reinvestment zone number 38. Ms. Myers and Linderos.
Thank you, Mayor. I am going to turn the presentation over to Kayla. She's going to cover the specifics of the agreement. But before she gets started, I want to just mention that this is another significant project that we're very excited to bring forward and present to you. This is the culmination of a lot of work by our economic development corporation and city staff to help East Penn choose Temple to be their next place of investment, and we are very, very excited to have them. I think that the action that you just took to authorize the agreement with the Turner Behringer Group for downtown redevelopment is linked to this project. It's difficult to separate the people who are looking to relocate and come to Temple want places that they can love and want places that that are important to them, and downtown is a great place. So the work that we're doing to revitalize our downtown, I think, helps us attract companies like East Penn to develop here. As I mentioned, this is another extremely significant project that we're very, very excited to present to you. So with that, I'll let Kayla cover the details.
So also on the consent agenda, you all approved on second reading the designation of tax abatement reinvestment zone number 38. And as a reminder, that area is almost 37 acres located on the east side of Windland Road and south of Moores Mill Road in the city's industrial park. So the tax abatement or proposed tax abatement agreement with East Penn covers their proposed construction of a battery manufacturing plant on the site. They did submit an application for tax abatement on real and personal property. So a lot of times we only see applications on real property. This is for both real and personal property improvements to be constructed on the site. They are requesting a tax abatement that would give them 50% abatement on both real and personal property for 5 years. They anticipate making an investment of approximately $100 million in real and personal property improvements, and the new facility will house about 266 employees. The fiscal impact for the proposed agreement would be the abatement of approximately $1.6 million in property taxes over that 5 years, but remember, it is just a 50% abatement. The standard tax abatement agreement does include all the requirements of state law, including recapture provisions if the applicant defaults in any way. And then we will, if council approves the agreement tonight, there are certain notices that we have to send to the other taxing entities, and we will do so if the agreement is approved. And then the proposed project does meet the minimum requirements for tax abatement in the city's economic development policy, primarily because it stimulates desired concentrations of employment and commercial activity and in this case significantly increases the taxable value of that property. So that is all I have for the agreement. We're happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, similar to your statement on the last item, the current property is owned by the city or owned by the EDC, so it is not, we're not receiving any property tax at this point. So this in turn would phase in property tax revenue that's fairly significant because the investment here is a significant investment by the company.
Agreed, agreed. Council, any questions, any comments? Very good. If there are no comments, then I will entertain a motion on item 11.
I'll move to approve item 11 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Mayor Davis.
Aye. All very exciting. Item number 12 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing the purchase of right-of-way necessary for the Poison Oak Road expansion project and authorizing closing costs associated with the purchase of in an estimated amount of $22,500.
Have a presentation if you'd like to see it. It is on regular agenda for voting purposes, but Christina can go through the presentation. It's pretty short.
Okay. Mr. Mears?
This is part of our Poison Oak expansion project, and this is just an overview map of the project from 317 all the way to Old Waco Road. And this project currently requires right-of-way from 32 properties, which consist of 25 private owners, and does require 12 relocations. The city owns one of those 32 properties, TxDOT owns one, and Belton ISD has already donated the right-of-way that we need from them. And offers have been made to all of the owners based on completed appraisals. We have acquired 3 properties, and we're coordinating closing on a 4th. And those 4 properties were for the 12 hole takings that require relocation. And staff through stateside right-of-way services, we've reached an agreement with another property owner, and the one on your agenda tonight is a partial taking. It does not require any relocation. And it is located at 9306 Poison Oak, just right here on the north side of Poison Oak. And from this particular property, we need 0.19 acre of right-of-way and 0.11 acre temporary construction easement. The appraised value was $21,650, and the property owner reached an agreement with us for the appraised value. The additional dollars asked for will help cover any closing costs associated with the purchase. And I'm available for any questions if you have any.
That was quick. Council, any questions? Okay, there being no questions, then I will entertain a motion on item 12.
I'll make a motion to approve item 12 as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker. Aye. Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Item 13 is to consider adopting a resolution authorizing change order number 2 with Bell Contractors, Inc., Bell of Belton, in the amount of $292,851.32 for construction of the northwest and northeast Little Elm Creek Trunk Sewer Project.
Mayor, this is also on the regular agenda primarily for voting purposes. We did talk about this in work session, but we are happy to cover the agenda item, the presentation here as well if you'd like to hear from Dawn.
Council, do y'all want to hear from Don?
I think they like Christina better than you, Dawn.
Okay, we will forego the presentation, and Council, if there are no comments, then I'll entertain a motion on item 13.
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary?
Councilmember Walker.
Aye.
Councilmember Pilkington.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Aye.
Mayor Davis.
Aye. Thank you all very much for attending tonight's City Council session, and this meeting is adjourned.